Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. The MCU doesn't really exist anymore. There are different projects that have had a limited amount of success, or a lot of success, or no success, Deadpool and Wolverine being the most obvious, huge, recent Marvel success. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you had successful individual characters that people were actually interested in, getting together, telling a story, being relatable, being interesting, creating excitement for people who were interested in seeing how the whole world developed because everything sort of made sense, that's gone now. There really is no MCU, no Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are a bunch of Marvel characters and projects that, for the most part, very few people are really interested in. Coming from that part place, Thunderbolts opening weekend box office, a major Eternals level flop for Marvel, despite strong reviews. Is there no hope left for Disney's MCU? The problem with the Thunderbolts project is, who are these characters? Why would anyone care about these characters? Why would you do an entire group of characters that really, specifically, no one knows about, no one cares about, no one is interested in? And sure, there were some introductions of these characters in the Black Widow movie that pretty much very few people watched. It was not considered to be a successful movie. And yes, of course, it takes a couple of years to make a project, but this is a project that never should have happened. It didn't need to happen. They could have done any number of other Marvel projects, but they did this one and it didn't have success. From the Wall Street Journal, even Marvel knows its movies and shows need to be better. The superhero studio is cutting TV production and fixing its film slate after fans lost the plot, implying that fans don't understand what's going on because there's just too much volume of too many characters, and it's not superhero fatigue, it's not even Marvel fatigue, and it's not even woke fatigue. It's just fatigue of terrible content produced without any kind of a discipline. A universe means it's a shared place where these characters interact, and there are some common rules within that universe. Rules about the superhero's powers, rules about physical geographical locations, rules about time like continuity. I published a universe of superhero and science fiction related characters called the Triumphant Universe. I do know something about this. Marvel was on the right track until they decided they didn't want to produce content for boys anymore. That mix-up, that change, going against the grain of what Marvel was and the characters they established, the storylines they established, the relatability that they established with their characters, was the beginning of the end for them. It doesn't mean that Deadpool wasn't successful. Of course it was. People loved it. In fact, Ryan Reynolds is the future of Marvel, whether or not they want to admit it. From Cosmic Book News, Ryan Reynolds writing Deadpool XMen movie. Could it be the uncanny X-Force? Yes, that could be successful. Ryan Reynolds is also an excellent marketer. He seems to know how to connect with old school Marvel fans as well as future potential normie Marvel fans. He knows how to get the job done. And I have said before, if you put Ryan Reynolds in charge of the MCU, it would work. I guess politically that's not possible. But with this new project, there could be a group of characters that Ryan Reynolds helps direct the future of, and maybe then they can have a mini collection of characters that could work. It's not the MCU. And they could restart the MCU. They could put someone else in charge who understood the principles of you've got to have individually compelling, relatable characters, good stories. Of course, no wokeness, but again, that's not even really the point. The point is you've got to tell a story about individual successful characters, and then you have to combine those characters together, let them team up, have some conflicts. That's the underlying structure of continuity, of interaction, of what makes a universe a universe. But let's talk about Thunderbolts. From thatparkplace.com. Thunderbolts opening weekend box office, a major Eternals level flop. Marvel Studios is staring down yet another grim milestone as Thunderbolts begins its theatrical run. Domestic box office projections place the film's opening weekend between $70 and $75 million. That's not enough money. As they say, on paper, that might sound respectable, but in the context of Marvel's recent track record, it paints a very different picture. The opening actually falls well below Captain America: Brave New World, which earned $100 million during its first domestic weekend. That film ultimately grossed just over $414 million worldwide. With a bloated budget and marketing costs factored in, it was widely considered to be a major loss for Disney. Of course, they were transitioning a white Captain America for a new black Captain America. It did not work out. Captain America as a character has always been a little bit difficult to get interest in. It's a very old Marvel character. Captain America traditionally does not have massive superpowers. He's not from another dimension. He's really like a street-level character. Deadpool, Wolverine, these are characters that have more power. Spider-Man, more characters that can be more creative with their use of powers than Captain America. So it's a difficult character to handle. Marvel did have success with Captain America the way it was originally cast, but this clunky transition to a black Captain America just did not seem to work out for Marvel. Now, Thunderbolts, a film with a reported $200 million budget before marketing and theater costs, appears poised to deliver even less box office momentum than a movie already considered a misfire. To put it into perspective, Thunderbolts' projected debut closely mirrors that of 2021's Eternals, which opened to $71 million domestically. That movie was widely viewed as the Marvel Cinematic Universe's first major box office failure, despite an ambitious creative vision and sprawling cast. Since then, Marvel has only seen more volatility in its performance, culminating in what many consider to be its most damaging theatrical release to date, The Marvels. The Marvels film managed to gross just $63.3 million during its domestic opening weekend. Thunderbolts has beaten it, but not by much, and likely not enough to erase comparisons. Although at least the reviews on Thunderbolts for the few people that went to see it seem to be a lot better than the Marvels. What makes this scenario especially damning is that the Thunderbolts is actually enjoying strong audience and critic reception, something its recent predecessors sorely lacked. As of opening weekend, Thunderbolts holds a critic score of 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. That would put it in the upper tier of post-Endgame Marvel films. Endgame, beyond dispute, was a massive success for Marvel. They haven't had anything near Endgame for a very long time. Audiences who went to see this movie actually do like it. It has a 94% positive score for all audiences. In another era, that kind of reception would have garnered strong word of mouth and a box office surge. Today, it's barely moving the needle. The disconnect between reception and results speaks volumes about the current state of the Marvel brand. Once, Marvel could launch virtually any property, no matter how obscure, and turn it into a billion-dollar franchise. Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, these were not household names before Marvel Studios transformed them into box office anchors, but those days appear to be over. Because they don't have momentum, they don't have credibility, it's just like credit. Once you max out your credit card, you can't buy things with it anymore. What we're seeing now with Thunderbolts is not just a poor opening, it's the continued fallout of a multi-year erosion of audience confidence. Between inconsistent storytelling, over-reliance on streaming tie-ins, and a relentless release schedule, Marvel seems to have exhausted the goodwill it spent over a decade building. Audiences once lined up sight unseen for anything bearing the Marvel Studios logo. Now, even a well-reviewed film is being met with indifference. People just don't care about Marvel, the brand, anymore. It's not about quality. It's about trust, and Marvel lost a considerable amount of trust. The brand fatigue has been accelerated by a string of projects perceived as lackluster or politically driven, not to mention major delays, behind-the-scenes controversies, and shifting leadership. Audiences who once felt invested in a unified cinematic experience are now unsure what, if anything, connects those films, or whether they're worth the ticket price at all. No one cares about what's going on in Marvel anymore. No one cares about what's going on in Star Wars anymore. Sure, there are a few people who care, but they used to have the entire potential audience actually caring about what happened with their franchises, what happened to these characters. We know they're not real people. It's just fantasy, but people did care. Now they don't. And you cannot forget the numbers. With a $200 million production budget and what's likely another $100 to $150 million in marketing spending, Thunderbolts will need to earn roughly $700 million globally just to hit the break-even point. That's at the theatrical level. There will be other distribution channels, and it does count that they can distribute it through Disney Plus, and they can rent and sell the film digitally. Those things do count, and sometimes it is overstated that, okay, well, you didn't hit your production budget, you didn't make your money back theatrically, so now it's a big loss. Sometimes it is a little bit overdone in critical media. But it's true. These things are not free to produce. And if people are not really excited about the characters, the film does not have the value that Disney is presenting it as having the value long term. Based on this weekend's projections and given the performance of recent Marvel films, it's hard to see how they're going to make any money. International performance will help, but it's unlikely to make up for the shortfall with the Thunderbolts Failure in domestic box office. If the film finishes in the same range as Brave New World or Eternals, which it probably will, it may become yet another red mark on Marvel's post-Endgame report card. This film is going to lose money, but what makes it so interesting is that even with a good audience reception, a very good audience reception, it's not enough that you could tell your friend about it and have them say, oh, you know what? Oh, okay, I'll go see it. People are just burned out on Marvel because of the massive brand fatigue, not superhero fatigue, brand fatigue. It's what they did with their own brand. The only way for Disney to put value back into the Marvel brand is to focus on individual characters that, for whatever reason, are resonating with audiences and have social media buzz. Social media buzz is like miraculous. It can tell you what characters, what stories, what worlds people are actually interested in because they're talking about it. If they're not talking about it, they don't care about it. And if they don't care about it, then there is no brand value. Ryan Reynolds, though, could save the day, not for the MCU, but at least with a few characters that he's in charge of. From Comic Book News, Ryan Reynolds writing Deadpool XMen movie, will it be the uncanny X-Force? Ultimately, it probably will just be X-Force. That's what Rob Liefeld wants anyway, co-creator of Deadpool. Rob Liefeld is a good follow on X, and he has a new Youngblood comic. You should check him out. It's learned that Ryan Reynolds is in the very early stages of developing and writing a new Deadpool movie featuring X-Men characters. Fans are hoping it's an adaptation of Uncanny X-Force. The news follows Deadpool and Wolverine making over $1.3 billion at the box office. Marvel has also confirmed Channing Tatum for Avengers Doomsday, who Reynolds brought in to play Gambit. It's also assumed that Reynolds and Hugh Jackman will be back as Deadpool and Wolverine for Avengers Doomsday and/or Secret Wars. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Reynolds is exploring ideas for a Deadpool movie that would feature X-Men characters. Reynolds is said to be working on a treatment that for an ensemble film will feature 3 or 4 X-Men characters. While Deadpool would of course be in the movie, it's suggested Deadpool would only appear as more of a supporting character. Here's what they said. From The Hollywood Reporter, Reynolds is said to believe that keeping his F-bomb wielding anti-hero more on the sidelines could allow for the X-Men characters to be used in unexpected ways. Reynolds has been open about every Deadpool movie needing a strong reason to exist, and it's possible this could provide the next avenue he needs. It's also said the new Deadpool XMen project is separate from the X-Men movie currently in development for the MCU that Hunger Games writer Michael Leslie is writing for Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. This is not yet considered Marvel official, as Reynolds is said to be exploring ideas and tinkering with concepts and working outside of Marvel. It's known he pitched over a dozen ideas to Marvel before landing Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld chimed in on the news and recommended doing X-Force, which Liefeld created. A version of the team also appeared in Deadpool 2. Quote, just call it X-Force already and make it happen, like when it was with Drew Goddard. Don't leave out Josh Brolin or Zazie. Folks want Cable and Domino back, Liefeld tweeted. The MCU as it used to exist no longer exists. There are a few popular characters. Yes, you have Deadpool. Yes, you have Wolverine. Some people like what they recently did with Daredevil. But there's no cohesive, successful MCU brand anymore. That's gone. I'm sure that Ryan Reynolds has his limits, but I can tell you this much. Unless he does something for Marvel, they don't have anything that I'm really all that interested in seeing anymore. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.